Good morning to you. Well, as I promised, a few minutes later than 11 o'clock, I thought it might be fun to look at some of the psychic skills that are associated with spiritualism. Most people who develop their abilities as mediums start off sitting in a circle, and there's an opening prayer, always in a circle, who are gathered for that development. And what I have always found most interesting is the psychic aspect of mediumship, because psychic actually just relates to the soul and spirit. It's not a dirty word, although it seems to have become one amongst the general orthodox type religious establishment population and spiritualists. Why is that? Because, as we say, everybody can be psychic, use their psychic skills and hone them. Not everybody, not every psychic is a medium. And that means that sometimes people are very adept at their psychic abilities. Most of us are pretty psychic right from birth. We're aware of that. But the actual spirit contact, knowing that you have a contact with the spirit dimensions, that requires a rather more elevated mindset, frequency of mind, if you like, in order to attune yourself to that. So we have this sort of various levels of psychic ability that at a specific point actually move us up into that sphere where we can actually communicate with those on the other side of life who are on a much finer frequency and vibration than we are down here. So if you can imagine it, it's a sort of series of steps, and we're all down here on the lowest, of course, and then we can use our innate psychic abilities. We can hone them, we can develop them in order to eventually reach that point where we can step up and meet those from the spirit world and be able to communicate with them. And of course, for most mediums, the joy is in being able to bring messages and relay messages of comfort, particularly to loved ones left down here. But this is about psychic work, and in any circle I always think that it's nice to have a balance of the sort of serious stuff, which is meditation and spiritual meditation, and meeting people on the other side during that condition of mind and so on. And then, of course, there's the other stuff that we do, which is honing up our psychic skills in order to, if you like, sort of give us that little bit of buzz, that little bit of extra vibration that lifts us above the commonplace and ordinary in life and starts to put us in touch with that greater world around us, the world of spirit, which of course is around and interpenetrates our own. So I thought it would be fun because I have, obviously I've conducted many circles in my time, but I've also conducted workshops which are basically not the same as a spiritual circle, development circle for mediumship, because lots of people actually enjoy the psychic stuff, and I don't see why they shouldn't, and I enjoy it myself. And I thought, with all the children that are home, there must be lots of packets of crayons laying around. At least there used to be in my home when I had young children. And so I found there's this pack of crayons which you should have around. And I was going to tell you how we actually can use colour crayons to actually give readings to people, to other people. You can give readings to your friends, family, and it's just good fun, and it's not spooky at all, but of course it'll seem very spooky. The other thing is that you don't need to be a medium at all. You don't need to hear disembodied voices or anything like that. So therefore, that's why I say it's not spooky. It's actually, psychic work is definitely of the physical energy plane. It's the kind of thing that, you know, if you expect somebody to ring you, they do. And you say, oh, I was just thinking about you, I thought you might ring. That's your psychic abilities working. And when you walk into a house and you think, oh, I don't like it here very much, that's your psychic abilities working. When you shake hands with somebody, you think, oh, that wasn't a very pleasant experience, your psychic abilities are working. Nobody from the spirit world is telling you anything. You are just responding with your psychic instincts. And now, we can just bumble along like that if we wish, but I think it's always great fun to start to develop some colour in your garden fence. Yes, well, here you are. This will be a good tip then. You'll be able to get some inspiration from this, I'm sure. Now, before we do anything, because, you know, the psychic within us is so near to that spiritual aspect of ourselves that we do need to protect ourselves, and we always say a little prayer for protection before we embark on anything that's remotely to do with spiritual aspects of life. And so before we actually start this, and if you're going to do it yourself, you know, practice it yourself, always quietly say to yourself, dear Lord, I ask for protection for myself at this time. I am going to do some special work, and I ask in the name of light and love and truth that we are protected at this time. Amen. There. Now, as soon as you mentioned light, everything gets light around you. And what Charles Dickens used to call the Umnagatis, the nasty side of spirit life, can't get near you. So you're protected. You just have to make a statement. Everything you do is done only for good, in love and truth and light, and you will be protected. There's no need to start sprinkling holy water around yourself, or putting objects around you, or lighting various candles. Do anything. Just that. Just send out your thoughts and you will be looked after. There. So, oh, and I should mention that some of these things are in the Spiritualist Handbook that I wrote, loads of stuff in there, including workshops. So there you are. Now, here we are with our crayons. And of course, they're all colour. Now, colour is something that holds all our lives together. It's our life. We are children of light. Light is a spectrum of colour that combines together to make white, of course, as you know. Your heart is made from rock nowadays. Oh, well, I hope that this will lighten your heart and give you some colour into your life. It's so important. Now, of course, there are all the colours are of different vibrations. That light is split up, as we know, into all these different colours. Red at one end and blue at the other, or violet rather, and you can get infrared and ultraviolet, which we as human beings don't see with our naked eye, and of course there are colours beyond that are just totally unknown to us, and all these colours have a frequency. They all operate at a frequency and a vibration, just like everything else in life. And while we do this, you'll find it so interesting. Now, what I can do is tell you what the meanings of the colours are, so that you can, this is a live chat, I know, but you can actually watch again, and you can always take them down or something. So I'll tell you first of all then what the colours actually mean generally. And this again is from the book, which I've written. Right, so red, the planet is Mars, and it symbolises life. It has life, strength, power, vitality, courage, desire, passions of determination, fight, strength of mind, warmth and affection, nature. And the negatives of red are domineering, flatterer, vain, aggressive, bad-tempered, and an animal instinct. Oh dear. Orange, you'll notice this is the colours of the rainbow, the colours of white. The planet is the sun, and it symbolises health. And positives are optimism, confidence, enthusiasm, courage, healing, vitality, unselfishness, energetic and sensitivity. Negatives are selfishness, pride, ruthlessness and ambition. Oh dear, I don't think that's negative, but there you are. Yellow, the planet is the moon, and it symbolises wisdom. And the positives are mentally quick-witted, wisdom, intellectual knowledge, cleverness, happiness, joyfulness, optimism, very spiritual colour. And the negatives are jealousy, suspicion, greed, cowardice and unfaithfulness. Green, Venus is the planet and symbolises energy, and positives are growth and creativity, artistic balance, harmony and nursing and nurture. Negatives are envy, jealousy, deceit and treachery. Now, blue is Mercury, the planet, and it symbolises inspiration. Positives are caring, compassion, nursing, faith, hope, devotion, honesty, sincerity, inspirational, spiritual meditations. Negatives are worry, depression, moody or overreaction. Indigo is actually the planet Saturn, and it's intuition symbolising, and positives are prayer, intuition and solitude, devotion, faith and someone who likes music. And negatives are introvert, dreamer and unhappy. We're nearly there. Violet, the planet is Neptune, and that symbolises spiritual power. Poets is the positive, seers, humility, mediumistic, maturity. Mystics are also considered a royal colour, violet. Pink, and that symbolises love, and the positives are love, devotion, emotion and good health. Brown symbolises study or maybe disappointments. Grey symbolises, usually means tiredness and lack of imagination. And turquoise can mean uncertainty about things, but can also indicate mediumship. Now, they're the list of colours that you have now, so you'll be able to look back to them. Which page in my book? 152. I'm terrible, aren't I? 151 to 153. So if you have my book, then you have an advantage, and you could work from that and take a photocopy of it or something. I saw at a psychic fair once that somebody had a large book that explained everything to them. They were there charging people a lot of money for their readings, and they actually had a book by the side of them, so they weren't using their psychic abilities at all. They should have advised people to buy their book or something that they were working from. I don't think they wrote it themselves either. So there we are. So there is a little bit of criticism there from me. And what I'm saying is, look, we have all these colours here. Look. Can you see them? This wonderfully expensive box of crayons, Crayolas. And they have wonderful colours in. And what you can do is, you see, given that you have got this thing by you that tells you all the different colours, you could actually just use that. But what you might find is that, say for instance, there's this red one. Well, the first thing you know is that it's a very energetic colour. What did it say here about red? Shall we look to see what that said? I said it, I should remember. The planet is Mars, of course, and that's well, it's a planet of war and aggression and stuff like that. But red symbolises life. What you can do, once you're used to sort of looking at what it says to you about the red, like life, strength, power, vitality, etc., you can then find that if you hold it, somebody has chosen this, say, who would like to take a colour, take a crayon, and they take this one. You can say, well, you have lots of life in you, very vibrant, you have lots of energy, but also you have pain as well. And the thing is that you'll find that if you actually do this, you practice this, that things will come to you like magic. Because being psychic is like being magic, and you can get all sorts of information just from the fact that somebody has chosen a red crayon. And And similarly, they might, you'll be lucky if they choose a violet one, because everybody likes to think they're very spiritual and have a lot of wisdom. And if somebody picks a violet one, they can say, you can say to them, oh yes, you're a very spiritual person. You've chosen a very spiritual colour, and you must be attracted. You see, like attracting like. And then what you'll find is once you've started talking about this person, other things will come to you. It's sort of like an intuitive response, and you'll be able to find all sorts of things that you can say to people about themselves, and you'd be surprised how accurate it is. Now, the fact that these things are accurate, psychically speaking, gives people the impression, perhaps, that you have a link with spirit. Now, that's a different thing altogether, and this is why I would say that psychic work on its own is frowned on by sort of purists in the spiritualist movement, who feel that it can misrepresent the actual spiritual aspects of our movement, of our religion. But the fact is that our religion is based on psychic work and people who are psychic. And it is fun to have that ability and to grow that ability, because you get asked to parties. You don't have to go and sit in the kitchen. People say, where's so-and-so? Let them come and read our crayons for us. Well, not our crayons, but you could read anything that's got colour in it. And, I have been known with Kathy, we put on an evening once in a church. We called it Fright Night so that people would flock to it. And it was a psychic night. And we actually had a load of coloured pens. And we asked people to choose a coloured pen. And we were able to give them readings from those pens. So you see, as long as you tell people this is nothing whatsoever to do with those in the spirit world, although they might be watching on to see the show, it's fine to do that, and it brings people into our movement. And certainly my circles were always happy places to be in, and we always did some psychic work, because you need to know the difference between what you're doing psychically and what you're doing mediumistically when you are going into developing mediumship. And also you need to be able to tell people themselves whether they are working on a psychic level or whether they are actually in contact and communication with the spirit world, because it's two different things. But I hope you've got your different coloured... Yes, ribbons, of course. Anything that's got colour, I think... It's not probably just accidental that when babies have comfort blankets, they have comfort blankets and pieces of cloth that they lug around with them. My little brother used to suck his blue blanket because it had a satin edge. He liked the satin, and it was horrid. I think he sucked it for about 2 years. I hope he's watching this at some point. He's very grown up now. And it was blue. And of course, so many of you will know that blue is such a calming and had such a lovely effect. And blue blankets are really, sought after. I don't know if you get blue duvet covers, but personally, I like a blue duvet cover. Oh, Karen, you'd been happy to see. Oh, bless you. Your whole house is black and white. Oh, dear. Now, this is not anything to do with Feng Shui, but it's to do with my knowledge of psychic matters. And I would suggest that if somebody has, you dear, I know, if someone has something in black and white, it's very stark, isn't it? There's stark contrast. White is a colour associated with purity. However, you must remember that white is a collection of all the colours of the rainbow, but white itself can be a bit daunting, and black is an absence of colour, Black can be very negative. I know that black and white is very smart, but you know, I think in small doses, and I think that if you have too much black around you, it can have a very debilitating and negative effect. I mean, if you think about it, speaking of negatives, photographic negatives, as they used to be, were the reverse of colour, and you would see, you know, everything in reverse, and it would be a sort of a monotone of black and white, and shades of grey. So I think perhaps liven that black and white up with some colour. I would suggest one wall pink. How about that? Pink is love. You know, it really is, and it gives you such a warm feeling. And there are all sorts of shades of pink that you can choose. And against a background of black and white, that would be lovely. And Samantha says that blue, yes, blue is lovely. And yes, Carmen, yes, well, that's it, you see. And if you're sitting in a place that is actually projecting negative vibes at you, because we're talking about vibration. Remember I said that all colours have a frequency in vibration. Black is very low because there's no colour at all, and white is sort of just everything sort of locked together. So there's no freedom in white. You know, there's no freedom in that. Now, I won't say anything about the tradition of brides wearing white on their wedding day, but it might have something to do with the fact also, and with the rings that we wear. You know, that's instead of a ring round our neck, I think, but sometimes we wear it joyfully, like mine, and sometimes we wear it in sorrow. But nevertheless, I think that white can be very negative. And almost sacrificial in aspect. So I would suggest very strongly that instead of black and white, introduce some nice pastel colour, some pink, something blue, you know, even green. Now, green is something that you have to be careful of. If you've got a very murky green, it may give off the wrong impression of you. If you're going to an important interview or going to see important people, I would suggest you don't wear murky green. Change your clothes, because it does give off that sort of vibration that's not terribly good. It's not for nothing, you know, if you think about things that are putrescent, you know, green and murky yellow and murky green. No, I don't think so. So I think you hate green. Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. Well, you see, this is green, this top, but it has some sort of shades in it, and sort of gold in it, and some sort of patterns in it, and I like this. I think it's very nice. So I'm attracted to this, and I see it as growth, learning, nature. I love nature, and that's what that's showing to me, and would be showing to you. And the colour green, no, it's not unlucky. You see, that's the other thing. As spiritualists, we would suggest to people that they stop being superstitious about what is lucky and what is unlucky, and particularly with colours. You know, colour is colour, and while it conveys certain aspects of life, at the same time, green per se is not unlucky. I think that there's a lot of art with lots of green in it. I mean, as we look around our, you know, pictures that we may have or photographs, think of green grass, green fields, you know, things that are good that are green, beautiful green stones. Elect stones are green, beautiful green. There's so much good about green, that it can portray learning, growth, nature, and yes, love itself, perhaps a very basic love. So I don't think that green is unlucky, Carmen, so don't worry about that. Oh, you love outside green. Well, there's no difference with inside and outside. We have just built sheds around ourselves to be away from the outside, to have shelter, but we're still outside in a way, because we've only got to sort of, you know, knock the walls down and we're outside again. And we all have windows where we look at the outside. If we didn't have those windows, like in the old days, they didn't have glass, they just had openings. So they were opening out onto the outside. They were really part of that outside. So I don't see that green has any bad connotations for putting in one's home or where one lives or sleeps. I think that, you know, you'll be fine. Now what I did say, I think, in the heart chakra colour, yes, it is, yes, that's absolutely right, Corinne. And Samantha, your cats have gathered around to watch and listen. Oh, bless them. Now, of course, you know, all of us who would have been considered witches in the old days were also people who would be surrounded by familiars, mostly cats. So I think that in the old days, women had to be very careful about you know, being seen with their cats, because, you know, there's such a thing as remote viewing. That's actually a fact. And what you can do, or what they used to do, some of the women, they would send their cats out and they would project themselves, and they would connect with their cats telepathically, and they would actually then, if they were very psychically adept, note, they would be able to see what the cat was seeing. And people thought that was very spooky, but really it's just a fact of life that we are psychic beings and we can actually develop those abilities. Of course, people that can do that are very clever. I believe that the American space laboratories used to have psychics in there remotely viewing distant planets, particularly the moon. And there have been reports of what is on the other side of the moon that we never see, by psychics who remotely viewed the dark side of the moon. So, you know, these are all possibilities. So, and you know what they're doing before they know. Well, yes, that means you're very psychic. And certainly, you know, the colour of your interior is not unlucky, but you just need to you know, lighten it up a bit. So what I also said was that I would give some readings as well from these crayons, because just to show you that it's fun and easy to do, and provided those of you who've come on a bit later that you say before you start any of this, you just make a little statement in your mind, you send that out to those who know better than us on the other side of life. Everything I do, I only do for good, in the light, love and truth. There you are. So you must make sure that that light is around you. You know, I told you, you don't want the Umnagatis creeping in. And that's what Charles Dickens called them. Now, Charles Dickens was somebody who loudly said that he did not believe in spiritualism and he thought it was all rubbish. And the fact is that if you actually read his work, like Scrooge, for instance, Christmas Carol, that was full of spiritualist analogy and knowledge. So people don't mind picking our brains what we can do and using it and then debunking us and saying, no, it's all rubbish. So if he didn't know that there was Umnagatis, why did he name them? So, like a reading if possible, Samantha. Well, I suppose what we have to do as well. Now, if we're going to be giving readings to people, our friends and family, of course, because we're now locked in with them, this is something you could do. If you've got crayons or pens, colours, and I know that somebody said they have ribbons, you can put a whole mixture of these. You can say to them, take a colour, and then you can read it for them when they hand it back to you. So this one, for instance, comes into my hand, who said, Samantha, that said about a reading. So this comes into my hand for you. Right. I would say that straight away I feel around my solar plexus, I get a real sort of anxiety feeling. So I feel that this is something that's affecting you at the moment. You can say yes or no on here if you can. If not, don't worry, I'll just carry on regardless. That's the other thing. people don't have to answer straight away. You can just give them the reading and then watch their face for expression, and the odd gasp of surprise would be good. But yeah, so this immediately gave me this feeling around my solar plexus, which is our midriff here, feeling a little bit anxious and not feeling too well. So, but Samantha, I can say to you that it's in your mind. I feel that this is somebody who's very sensitive, oversensitive, and as a result, I would say that every time there's anything, that anybody's got anything, you think you might have it as well. There you are. I'm not saying you're a hypochondriac at all, Samantha, but I just feel that you feel everybody's illnesses yourself, and you sometimes think, oh, I must have that. And perhaps you even, I would say that this is somebody who actually goes and researches things like that. So you might have even looked up all the symptoms of various illnesses, and as you're reading them, think, oh dear, I think I might have that. But then it passes away and you're okay. But what I can say to you, Samantha, is from this, that I know, you see how it's pointing. I'd say that it's pointing you to a good future there. So I don't think you have to be too anxious what's going on at the moment, because what's going on at the moment may be confusing you. And especially if you've got those nasty feelings in your, those nasty gut feelings that something's not right, and, but everything will be fine. So there you are. That's your reading from this. So I hope that was suitable. Oh, you can understand that. Yeah, well, good. Oh, right. Yes. Well, that's different, you see, Corinne, because we're talking about two different things here. One is working with spirit, which is mediumistic, and elevating our vibrations, frequencies to a higher level so that we can communicate with them. This is just about our psychic abilities, which is a sort of about here, I'd say. The reason that I always say make that affirmation is just to make sure that you are protected anyway from anything else that moves around us in the world of spirit or close to this earth plane. This is just a fun thing to do, but it also does heighten our abilities and makes us aware of the difference between our psychic abilities and our mediumistic spirit abilities to communicate with that higher life, that other world. Tammy Hutchinson, no, you have to take lines for getting late. For being late, you have to write lines. You have to say, I am sorry, teacher, I am late, and I promise not to be late again. Now, who else would like a reading from one of these crayons? There you are. Come on, don't be shy. Somebody should say, who would like a reading from a crayon? Because this is the way to do it. Karen, you're having a good laugh. Shall I give you a reading? Yes or no? Right, that's it. This is a reading for Karen. There you are. See, I must be psychic because I decided I was going to give you the reading anyway, and now you've said yes, so that's cool. And I'll get one for Samantha out now, so I remember that. Samantha, right, what do I get for you? What would you like? Oh, let's have that green one's. Oh, green and, oh, right, you get two. Okay, so that's for that. Right, so this was for Karen. Right, you have orange. Well, you remember that was all about energy. And, of course, you need that at the moment for yourself, because what you've been doing, that's my psychic juices are telling me that you have been doing too much for everybody else and not enough for yourself. There you are. That's my psychic reading from this. And about trusting what we receive. Well, yes, but the thing is, this is just, we can trust ourselves, and this is just about our, if you like, our spirit within, our psychic self. And this for you, Karen, shows that you have. Oh, I see. It's telling me that you love to write things down, So this is sort of like using itself as a sort of pencil, as it were. Okay, Karen? Oh, that's what you do. Oh, right, okay. Well, that's just a psych. I don't say just away, but this is a psychic emanation that I'm picking up. Just because I picked this up, I was prompted to pick this up by my psychic self for you. Also, oh, right. You're going round and round in circles at the moment, wondering what your direction is. So you're not quite as sorted out as you say, but we won't tell anybody, will we, Karen? You're actually looking at all the different things. You do so much, don't you? You do a lot. There's lots of stuff going on with you, but it's like you're like a firecracker. That's what I get here, like an orange firecracker, doing so much that, you know, at some point you're going to have to decide on your priorities, I think. There. So there you are, Karen. So how is that? And of course, you will get opportunity. You will have opportunity to progress and do a lot of different stuff that you like doing. There you are. That's what I get from this. And Carmen, you've got to shut down, and love and health to you all. Yes, thank you. And back to you. We all send you love back, Carmen. And don't forget about your black and white stuff needing alleviation with some nice pastel pink or pastel blue. Now, this is what I got for, I think it was Samantha Wright who said she wanted a reading, and I picked this up. Now, wow, I got this lovely vibrant green and this lovely mauvey violet colour. You know, the Americans abolished indigo out of their colours of the rainbow. We have 7 and they have 6. So in a way, like Emma Harding Britain's principles that she gave to that were adopted by the SNU, by spiritualists, and they were extended into 7. Well, the Americans reduced their rainbow to 6 because they said nobody knows what indigo looks like. So, you know, it ends at violet. Here we are then. We have this wonderful vibrant green of learning and growth for you. Samantha, it's just, now don't forget, this is just a psychic reading. It's what I feel. You can do this too. I see, right, what's happening here is that you're looking this way and that way to look at solutions for yourself. And of course, at this particular time, it's even more difficult because of the isolation and the social distancing. But what I'm seeing here is that this green can signify more learning for you. So although it's a difficult time for you, it's a time of great learning. And this learning you'll be able to apply. When all this emergency stuff is over, you'll be able to apply the learning that you've gleaned at this time and actually make something from that. And you will actually get a lot of progress from this. This is what this is showing me. This green is like, you know, the green of grass and foliage, and it's like you're growing every day in more ways than you ever thought possible. You've overcome so much, and you're still getting there. So that green actually portrays your determination to learn and to apply that learning. So there you are. So that's that one. And then, of course, we picked this violet, and that, of course, is very spiritual colour. People are drawn to this colour. You know, ceremonial robes are made out of it. Right from the beginning of time, you know, people used to like to wear sort of purple robes and have purple hangings and silks and everything around them, because why? It makes you actually feel better. And colour has a habit of doing that for you, Samantha, that colour helps you greatly, and perhaps you've never really known why, but I would say that you'd be drawn to these sort of violet colours, this spectrum of the rainbow, because it is so spiritually uplifting. And this is somebody who has always known that they had a sort of an inner soul, an inner spirit, and always connected. And all the troubles that you've gone through, this violet wisdom, spiritual wisdom, has kept you going and brings you safely thus far. So I hope that you've enjoyed that little reading, Samantha, for yourself. Now, I hope that everybody is going to have a go themselves at doing this, because I think it's one thing knowing things oneself. It's another thing telling everybody else or letting everybody else know about it, because we need to spread knowledge. We can't keep it to ourselves and be the big I am, you know. And this sort of psychic work is such fun. And it actually has a purpose as well, because it makes people feel better. There is no negativity in any of these colours, really, for anybody who chooses one. You know, the colours themselves may contain a certain amount of negativity, because here on the earth plane, positive and negative have to exist side by side, unlike in the spiritual realms where like is only with like. And unfortunately the other thing is with the other thing, which we won't talk about. But I will say at this point, though, that God's light is everywhere. So even in the darkest and gloomiest pits of despair, both here and on the other side of life, there is light. And when people that go from here who have been in despair, they are taken into the light. And as long as they have been decent people within themselves, within their psyche, they will be taken and cared for and will be in the light. People who are really evil here, they will descend to a lower level, but God's light is always there too. There is nowhere God's light is not. It said that Jesus went into hell, and he did, and we can and come back out, but the fact is the light is there. So eventually people may learn, repent of their deeds, may understand about love and what that means, and they then see the light, and they take that light and it draws them on upwards, and they then ascend into at least the lower ranks of heaven. There. Oh, Samantha, lots of purple in your home. Oh, right. Oh, that's really good. So I think it's probably time for me to get a cup of tea now. I don't know how long I've been talking for. But it's about this sort of time that I would take for a little circle. And we're not going to be doing any kind of meditation or spiritual work. I just wanted you to have a bit of fun, to learn a little bit of the stuff that I know about, and to be able to have a bit of fun using your psychic faculties and seeing, if you don't know you have them, to find out that you do have them. And all you need is this little packet of children's crayons, and you can do it with pens, or indeed somebody said they had ribbons, coloured ribbons, anything at all. And you can just have a bit of fun asking people who you're with at this time of isolation if they'd like to choose. And even if you know them very well, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at the things that, you know, and you know, sometimes if you're at the end of your tether, losing patience with a loved one because you're cooped up with them, or, you know, however many there are that you're cooped up with, you know, this will relieve some of that aggravation, believe me, because by the time you've all decided, you know, what colour you want, and you decide to read for each other, the atmosphere will have lightened up. So there you are. I hope you've enjoyed our little chat. Don't forget all of this, well, not all of this, because this is just a live me chatting on, but I've written about such matters in my book, which is the auspices of the New Christian Spiritualist Society, and it's called The Spiritualist's Handbook. You can get it on Amazon. I think it's about 14 quid or something. And people who've got it say it's very informative. So, you know, that's all I'm trying to do, is take the mystique away from spiritualism and give it back its good name, because in some quarters it hasn't got a good name, and we need to repair that and bring people on board, because it's such a wonderful way of life. And this psychic work is all a part of it. Don't be frightened of being psychic. There you are. So I say God bless to you all, and I've enjoyed speaking with you, and you know, the little readings, and you see how correct they can be. And the fact is that you mustn't mix that up with communication from spirit, because nobody over there told me anything. I was just getting this from my own instincts. All right? Oh, Ben. I'm still cracking on trying to get this ice stadium built. And that's another thing. If anybody knows any spare millionaires, we need about £2 million to build an ice stadium here on the fence, and it would be such a wonderful thing. And, you know, it's just a marvellous thing, and it will combat all the negatives that are going on in the world at the moment, where people can gather and have a good time on the ice. So I say God bless to you all, and if you'd like to message me, then please do, because I will answer you, and it may not be immediate, because especially now, because I need a cup of tea, and possibly even a biscuit, but I say God bless you, and I look forward to hearing from you, and just message me on this Facebook, and we'll be in touch. God bless you. Bye for now. Oh, and tonight, I nearly forgot. Tonight there is actually a service going out, a spiritualist service, and Reverend Alan Acton and myself are actually the serving mediums for that, and it's going to be on Facebook, and Reverend Nick Brown is conducting it as usual, and it's going out from the Little Port Christian Spiritualists, and I look forward to seeing you all on that. And that's starting at 19:30 hours British Summer Time, and I hope that you'll be able to tune into that. Bye for now. Bye. Don't forget. Oh, and it goes on till 9 o'clock. Bye.